I went through my business partner's tablet after suspicions and found a detailed plan to stage a fake cyber attack and frame me. I replied by locking down our systems and alerting the authorities. She was frantically trying to explain it was her tech thriller script. I always thought Dana had my back. For years of late nights, shared takeout, and half-baked dreams turning into a real, breathing startup. We weren't just business partners, we were a team. But the past few weeks, something shifted. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. My name's Lucas. I'm 33, living in Oakland, California. I co-founded a cybersecurity software company with Dana, who I met at a tech conference back in 2021. We clicked instantly, two brains wired for code and caffeine. But lately, she'd been different, distant. At first, I chalked it up to burnout. We were both running on fumes. Long hours, endless investor calls, and the constant pressure to scale. But then Dana started dodging my questions about finances. Always too busy. Always a vague excuse. She used to loop me in on everything. Suddenly, the monthly PNLS got lost in her inbox. Worse, she kept disappearing at night, saying she had investor meetings that didn't show up on our shared calendar. I'd text her, no reply. Call her, straight to voicemail. Then, one evening, I caught her glancing nervously at an old tablet she'd once told me was broken. I remember asking, "Didn't you say that thing was toast?" She just laughed. "Oh, I found a workaround. It's just for notes and stuff." I didn't push it, but something didn't sit right. A few days later, she left for one of those mysterious networking events downtown. I stayed behind at the work loft, pretending I was catching up on bug reports. But my eyes kept drifting toward the tablet she left on the workbench. It was just sitting there, screen dark, charger plugged in. I told myself not to snoop. I really did. But then I remembered the way she looked over her shoulder before leaving, and how she locked her laptop, but not this. It felt like an invitation. The lock screen was still her old 4-digit PIN, our launch date. Easy. My stomach churned as I swiped in. A few folders popped up. One labeled Blackout caught my eye. I opened it. Inside was a single document titled Operation Blackout. I clicked it. And just like that, the bottom fell out of my world. It wasn't about some investor deal. It wasn't notes or strategy outlines. It was a plan, detailed, methodical, and terrifying. Dana had been laying the groundwork for a fake cyber attack on our own platform, one she intended to blame entirely on me. There were bullet points, timelines, script templates, even mock-up interviews where she talked about stepping up as the voice of reason after her unstable co-founder compromised user data. I stared at the screen, frozen. The document wasn't some joke. It wasn't hypothetical. It was a roadmap, with my name written all over the wreckage. She even referenced my recent therapy visits and late login hours, spinning them as evidence of declining mental stability. I kept scrolling, heart racing. The deeper I read, the more twisted it got. Dummy IP addresses she planned to use. Security anomalies she'd simulate. Even how she'd manipulate our investors and press contacts. This wasn't paranoia. This was betrayal. I took a shaky breath, snapped photos of every page, then copied the file to a secure backup. I couldn't confront her, not yet. I needed to be smart. Strategic. I wiped the tablet clean, powered it down, and put it right back where she'd left it. Then I left the loft, locked the door behind me, and got in my car. My hands were still trembling on the wheel. Whatever this was, whatever Dana thought she was going to pull, it had just become a war. And I wasn't about to go down without a fight. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just lay there in my friend Jared's guest room, staring at the ceiling fan spinning overhead, every blade whispering, "She's setting you up. She's setting you up." I must have gone through those screenshots a dozen times, zooming in, reading the headers, scanning for details I might have missed. But they were all still there. Each line just as cold, calculated, and clear as I remembered. Operation Blackout. Dana wasn't just planning a breach. She was manufacturing one. And I was the fall guy. The file laid it all out like a script, literally. Her outline included phrases like Stage 1, failure attribution, and public narrative management. She had rehearsed statements for the board, timelines for media damage control, and even suggested hashtags for sympathy on social. I wish I was kidding. There was a whole section called Character Decline, the Lucas problem. That one hit hardest. She had bullet points about how I'd been acting erratically for months, sleeping at the office, missing deadlines, struggling with pressure. She framed my therapy appointments as breakdowns, claimed I had paranoid concerns about internal security when I'd just been cautious about giving access to certain admin tools. She turned everything upside down. And she didn't stop there. She outlined fake IP addresses to simulate intrusions. Some were routed through Eastern Europe, probably to suggest outside tampering. Others mimicked my own network behavior, same times I'd usually log in, same city pings. There were mock-ups of server logs with my credentials flagged during suspicious activity. She was building a case so airtight, I almost believed it myself. And the sickest part? She'd written it all so matter-of-factly. No drama, no anger, just execution. Like it was a spreadsheet. There were even notes on how she'd handle the fallout. Step in publicly to reassure clients. Emphasize my leadership and decisive crisis management. Announce Lucas's buyout to preserve stability. Consult legal to fast-track paperwork. Leverage board sympathy for increased equity. I stared at that last line until my eyes burned. Increased equity. That's what this was about. It wasn't just about kicking me out. It was about cashing in. She was setting up a fall so she could swoop in like the hero, grab my shares at a discounted valuation, and walk away as the face of the company. I felt sick. Somewhere around 4 in the morning, I finally sat up, wiped the sweat off my forehead, and made a decision. No more denial. No more hoping this would blow over. I needed to cover my ass. I pulled out my phone, started a new encrypted folder, and dumped every screenshot I had into it. Then I backed it up twice, one to an external drive, one to a secure cloud storage account Dana didn't know existed. I labeled the folder failsafe. Next, I did a sweep of my own devices. If she was planning fake log activity, she might try to tamper with my machines too. I wiped my laptop and phone clean, then reinstalled everything from scratch using offline backups. No risks. By sunrise, I was already making a list of cybersecurity consultants I could trust. People who wouldn't blink when I said, "Hey, my co-founder is framing me for digital sabotage." I also started drafting a timeline of everything that had felt off the past few months, her weird absences, the locked spreadsheets, the way she avoided investor meetings unless I wasn't there. Around 7 a.m., I drove back to the loft. I didn't go inside. I just sat across the street in my car, watching. Her bike was already parked outside. She always beat me in early on Mondays. A couple of years ago, I would have smiled at that. Now, I just stared at the windows, wondering if she was inside right now, rehearsing a press statement for the day she painted me as the villain. I didn't go in. I didn't want her to see me until I was ready. Instead, I drove away. I needed allies. I needed proof. And I needed time. Because if Dana wanted a war, she was going to get one. And I was damn sure not going down alone. By Monday afternoon, I had a plan. I wasn't used to playing defense. I'm a builder of systems, structures, solutions. But now, I had to reverse engineer a lie someone else wrote about me, piece by piece, and make damn sure it couldn't stick. The first thing I did was call someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Dr. Felix Robbins, my old cybersecurity professor at Cal. The guy was a legend in the field. I remembered he'd gone to work for some federal cybercrime initiative after I graduated. I found his name in a white paper last year and figured, if anyone would give me straight advice, it'd be him. He picked up on the second ring. "Lucas, haven't heard from you since you broke my intrusion simulation in under 3 minutes. What's going on?" I didn't try to ease into it. I just said it straight. I found a document. My co-founder is staging a cyber attack and plans to pin it on me. He didn't laugh. Didn't even pause. "Tell me everything," he said. I walked him through the screenshots, the dummy IPs, the falsified server logs, the psychological angle she was playing, my mental health, my behavior, all of it. I told him how she planned to simulate a breach, leak it to press, and then orchestrate a buyout at a depreciated valuation. Like she was putting down a lame horse. Felix whistled through his teeth. "That's not just dirty. That's criminal. I need to know what I'm dealing with. How strong her setup is. What can be disproven, and what sticks. You're dealing with conspiracy to commit fraud, computer tampering, and potentially corporate sabotage," he said. "If she executes even part of this plan, it won't just ruin your career. It could land you in court, maybe even jail." That landed like a gut punch. "Get a lawyer," he said. "And a good one. Immediately." So I did. That afternoon, I met with Laura Hess, tech lawyer, sharp as hell, no time for nonsense. I showed her the screenshots, the plan, the digital breadcrumbs Dana probably thought I hadn't noticed. Laura didn't flinch. She looked through everything in silence, then finally looked up. "She's not just preparing a setup," she said. "She's building a paper trail." "That's what scares me," I said. "She's banking on you being too slow, too shocked, too passive. She's counting on you not fighting back." "Well," I said, she guessed wrong. Laura nodded. "We need to secure everything under your name. Right now." She got to work drafting a cease and desist letter for Dana's access to sensitive data systems. She helped me prepare a formal memo to our company's board, citing security audits and unexplained administrative access logs as cause for immediate internal lockdown. By evening, I had revoked Dana's clearance to our core backend and analytics dashboards. The message I sent out was clean and corporate. Effective immediately, access to sensitive infrastructure is being restricted to prevent unauthorized changes during a routine security review. Please direct questions to our legal counsel or CTO. No mention of Dana. No accusations. Just action. I also changed my number. I couldn't risk her spinning narratives over text or voicemail that might be used against me. I sent a formal notice to our shared Gmail thread. All communication moving forward should be via legal representation. Please do not contact me directly. Then I went back to Jared's place and crashed on his pullout. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and said, "You'll fix it. You always do." But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the little moments I used to trust Dana. The hackathons. The half-jokes about blowing it all up if the board pissed us off. The way we used to play devil's advocate over data vulnerabilities for fun. It hit me that maybe, for her, this had always been a game. But not for me. This company was my life. My name. My future. She could burn it all down just to be the one left holding the ashes. Not on my watch. At 2 a.m., I emailed Felix again. I asked him to discreetly forward the screenshots to a contact he had at the Department of Cybercrime, just to get it on record. I didn't know where this would end, but if I went down, it'd be documented. And if Dana thought she could erase me with one PDF and a press statement, she just started a war she wasn't ready for. By the time Dana showed up to the office the next morning, the locks had already been changed. She stood outside for a full 10 minutes, probably thinking it was a glitch, swiping her card again and again, tapping on the keypad, pulling out her phone. From across the street, I watched her through a cafe window, heart pounding like I was the one in the wrong. Eventually, she gave up, walked away stiffly, but not before glancing around to see if anyone was watching. I ducked behind a potted plant, even though part of me wanted her to know I'd seen. That afternoon, the text started. Dana, 9:17 a.m. Hey, just got locked out of the system? What's going on? Dana, 9:32 a.m. Lucas? Is this part of the security audit you mentioned? Dana, 10:04 a.m. I'm honestly confused. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Laura said to keep everything documented, no direct responses. She even drafted a standard out-of-office reply for me. For all inquiries related to company operations, please direct messages to legal at. By noon, Dana's tone had shifted. Dana, 12:12 p.m. This is kind of extreme, don't you think? I don't know what you're trying to prove, but locking me out is unprofessional. Dana, 12:58 p.m. If you're upset about something, just say it. We're supposed to be partners, Lucas. That one made me laugh. Partners. Like we were still a team. Then came the kicker. Dana, 2:14 p.m. I found that file on my tablet. The one you snooped through. Just so you know, it was a screenplay idea. A fictional tech thriller. You took it way too seriously. I stared at the message for a long time. Screenplay. Of course. The fallback. The you misunderstood card. Classic gaslight. She was rewriting the story before I could tell mine. And she didn't stop there. Later that night, I got a voicemail from my mom. Honey. Dana called. She sounded really upset. Said there was a misunderstanding? Are you okay? She mentioned something about therapy, and I just call me, please. Therapy. She was already planting seeds. Then my cousin Brian, who had invested 20 grand into the company during our seed round, texted me. Brian. Dude. Dana says you've been acting off. Something about stress and disappearing from key meetings? What's going on, man? She was going full PR mode, painting me as unstable, isolating me before I could explain. I didn't respond to anyone, just forwarded every text to Laura, who filed them in a labeled folder, character framing attempts, Dana. The next day, things got uglier. I woke up to a dozen calls from unknown numbers. A couple of DMs from low-tier tech bloggers. Hi, Lucas. Any comment on the rumored shakeup at company name? Sources say you've stepped back due to wellness concerns. Care to clarify? She was testing the waters. Soft leaks? Whispers. And when silence didn't work, she tried guilt. Dana, 5:42 p.m. I really didn't want this to go this way. We were building something great. I was trying to protect it. But if you want to play hardball, fine. You'll regret this. That one hit different. The kindness was gone. The mask slipped. And beneath it? Cold threat. I took a breath and read the message again. You'll regret this. I screenshotted it. Filed it under escalation. Then I turned off my phone. That night, I sat in Jared's backyard with a blanket over my lap and a bourbon in my hand. We didn't say much. Just listened to the wind push against the fence and the occasional bark from the neighbor's dog. She's losing control, Jared finally said. I nodded, because I didn't play the part she wrote for me. The scariest part of this wasn't that Dana wanted to cut me out. It was that she'd planned every piece of it expecting me to stay quiet, to spiral, to disappear. She thought I'd crumble under the pressure and hand her the keys on my way out the door. But I wasn't disappearing. I was documenting. I was watching. And the next move? It wasn't hers anymore. The first shot didn't come from Dana. It came from Vivian Leary, our marketing director, Dana's closest friend since undergrad, the kind of person who lived in curated Instagram aesthetics and called herself a brand strategist with soul. I'd always thought of her as neutral. Flighty, sure, but harmless. Turns out, she was just waiting for her moment. Her email hit my inbox at 8:03 a.m. sharp. Subject line: "What you're doing is disgusting." I didn't even have to open it to know where it was going, but I read it anyway. Lucas, I can't believe you'd sabotage the company just because you couldn't handle a little creative disagreement. Dana told me everything. The document on her tablet was part of a fictional screenplay she's been developing for months. You had no right to steal it, take it out of context, and use it to lock her out like some paranoid dictator. You're not the only one who built this company. You're just the one making the most noise now. If you care about your reputation, walk it back before it's too late. Viv. I closed the message and sat back in my chair. I wasn't surprised. Disappointed, maybe, but not surprised. Viv always saw Dana as her golden ticket. She used our startup like a stepping stone, riding Dana's ambition while pretending it was all part of some larger vision. Of course, she'd take Dana's side. Loyalty was easy when your paycheck depended on it. Within hours, I started getting messages from investors too. Some were cautious. "Hey Lucas, can we talk? There's some confusion about what's going on." Some were defensive. "Dana's saying you locked her out based on a misinterpreted document. You sure this isn't a personal thing?" One even sent a voice note with the phrase, "boys and their egos," muttered under his breath. That one, I deleted. But not all of them turned. My inbox also lit up with quiet support. 2 board members emailed me directly asking for a meeting. Another investor I barely knew forwarded me a thread of internal chatter. Someone had leaked part of the screenplay to a group chat of founders and VCs. It was being passed around like wildfire. The best part? Dana didn't know which parts one had. That was my leverage. So I played my hand. I forwarded a redacted version of Operation Blackout, complete with metadata timestamps, digital fingerprints, and hash verifications to our board's legal team. Laura helped me format the email. Attached you'll find excerpts from a document discovered on a shared company device belonging to Dana Rell. This is not fiction. This is a coordinated plan to execute a falsified cyber breach, discredit me professionally, and fraudulently alter control of our corporation. Please review. I'm requesting an emergency meeting. Then I waited. By the end of the day, silence cracked. Dana's tone flipped from threat to pleading. Dana, for 17 p.m. Okay. So you're going to weaponize an internal brainstorm to destroy me? After everything we built? Dana, for 31 p.m. You're dragging the whole company down with you. If we crash, your name's on it too. Dana, 5:02 p.m. Let's talk. I'm willing to explain everything, but you need to stop making this public. It's not what you think. It was exactly what I thought. And she knew it. That evening, I got a call from Felix. His contact at the Federal Cybercrime Unit had looked at the document metadata. Their words? This wasn't hypothetical. This was structured intent. And she left fingerprints all over it. They weren't pursuing charges yet, but they were watching closely. I passed that along to the board's legal team, just to make sure they understood what was at stake. By the following morning, Dana's story had lost all traction. The board called an emergency session without her. No one told her it was happening. They reviewed the screenshots, the metadata trail, the emails, and Viv's angry screed. The decision? Dana was placed on administrative leave, pending a full internal investigation. Her keycards were disabled. Her emails frozen. Her calendar cleared. Just like that, the narrative shifted. Not because I made noise. Because I made a case. In tech, perception is currency. But evidence? Evidence is law. And I wasn't just surviving now. I was winning. 2 days after Dana was put on leave, the startup felt like a house with a cracked foundation, still standing, but every step shook the floor. The board issued a neutral-sounding internal statement. Something about a temporary reassignment of leadership roles during an ongoing compliance review. It was the kind of language that screams legal trouble without saying it outright. No one asked questions publicly. But behind closed Slack channels, whispers swirled. I kept my head down. Showed up. Did the work. Smiled just enough to avoid suspicion. But I could feel the tension clinging to me like humidity. Dana's absence wasn't just noted, it was radioactive. Then the first domino fell. One of our biggest early investors, Allen Shore Capital, pulled out. They put in a sizable stake during Series A and had always loved Dana's polished pitch style. I got the email at 6:12 a.m. Short, clinical. Given the current instability and reputational concerns, we'll be divesting our position immediately. Please initiate the necessary steps. I forwarded it to the board, exhaled, and poured my coffee without shaking. Barely. The truth? I expected it. Allen had always been more image than substance. Still, it stung. The kind of sting that makes you question everything, even when you know you're doing the right thing. But the real shock came 3 hours later. Dana tried to access a frozen company account. I got the alert on my phone. 2 failed login attempts from a known device, her old laptop, triggered a protocol I'd quietly set up with IT. She tried to move funds earmarked for marketing, including a $10,000 retainer for a PR firm. The same PR firm she'd referenced in her little Operation Blackout playbook. This wasn't cleanup. This was damage control on her terms. Laura moved fast. She sent a legal notice to the firm and flagged the attempted transaction to the board's audit committee. Within 20 minutes, Dana's digital access was completely severed. Everything. Dropbox, Slack, even her personal company email. She was done. But she wasn't done with me. That night, my brother Chris texted me out of the blue. Dude, why did Dana's mom just email me? I stared at the message, confused. Then I checked my inbox. Sure enough, there it was. From patricia.rel@gmail.com. Subject, please show compassion. Body, Lucas. I know you're hurting. I know things have gotten out of hand. But my daughter is not a villain. She's overwhelmed, stressed, and honestly, not in her right mind lately. This crusade of yours, it's breaking her. Please remember the person she used to be. I'm begging you. Let this go. Don't destroy her. Patricia Rel. I read it twice. Then forwarded it to Laura and added one sentence. We've officially entered the guilt and emotional manipulation phase. Laura replied with a single word. Predictable. But it didn't end there. The next day, Dana's college roommate posted a cryptic thread on X, formerly Twitter, clearly about me, something about tech bros using therapy buzzwords as a smokescreen for their power trips. That one got a few dozen retweets. Not huge, but enough that one of our junior engineers asked me privately, "Is that about you?" I said nothing, just shook my head and went back to reviewing code. But deep down, it messed with me. It's one thing to be betrayed in private. It's another to be cast as the villain while you're trying to do damage control with one hand and stop a free fall with the other. Still, I didn't crack. I filed more paperwork, logged everything, documented every back-channel smear. I wasn't emotional anymore. I was clinical. But that night, in the silence of Jared's guest room, it hit me. I'd spent 4 years building something with someone I thought was my closest friend. Now I was spending every waking hour making sure she didn't destroy me. And she had help. People I used to trust were backing her. People I thought were neutral were suddenly ghosts. Others were hedging, waiting to see which way the wind blew. But I didn't need all of them. I just needed the truth. And the truth was coming. The confirmation came on a Thursday morning. I was sitting in the conference room, groggy from another sleepless night, when Felix called. Lucas, he said, voice clipped and serious, we reviewed everything. I sent it through a contact at DHS. They ran full integrity checks on the metadata, file lineage, and version history. I sat up straighter. And they confirmed what we already suspected. The document wasn't hypothetical. Dana didn't just write Operation Blackout. She ran partial simulations of it. My stomach flipped. Simulations? He continued. Tested synthetic traffic from dummy IPs. Manipulated timestamped server logs in a sandbox environment. Even used a staging clone of your infrastructure to mirror the attack sequence she laid out in the file. I swallowed hard. So she didn't just dream it up. She rehearsed it. That word hit like a freight train. Rehearsed. Felix's voice softened. You've got a solid case, Lucas. This isn't workplace drama. It's premeditated digital sabotage. 10 minutes later, my lawyer Laura forwarded me a statement from the Cybersecurity Task Force. Their analysis backed Felix up. Dana had used a secondary GitHub account, registered under a fake name but linked to her company email domain, to execute trial runs of a breach. She'd masked traffic, mimicked login anomalies, and quietly deleted system backups, exactly like she'd outlined in the plan. She hadn't just imagined the attack. She had practiced it. And then, the next domino fell. One of our former interns, Tasha, a soft-spoken junior who had worked with us last fall, contacted the board's internal review team after hearing the rumors. She submitted a written statement. Dana had once asked her, off the record, to generate some simulated intrusion reports for a pitch deck scenario. At the time, Tasha assumed it was harmless, a flashy what-if for investors. But Dana told her not to mention it to me, said I was too uptight about internal audit rules. Tasha had screenshots of the Slack messages. She forwarded them to the board. That was it. Game over. By Friday morning, the board called an emergency meeting with all legal counsel present. I was asked to attend virtually, camera on, file documents ready. Dana joined late, looking pale, tired, and nothing like the polished founder she used to be. She didn't speak until one of the legal advisors laid everything out, metadata trails, simulation logs, intern testimony. Then they asked her directly, Dana, was this project ever intended for fictional or creative purposes? She blinked, then smiled, faintly. It started that way. Did you simulate or test any of the scenarios outlined? Her voice cracked. I was under pressure. Investors wanted leadership. Lucas was erratic. I didn't flinch. I let her talk. I didn't intend to actually deploy anything. I just needed leverage. A backup plan. The words hung in the air like smoke. Someone on the board muttered, Jesus. The lead counsel leaned forward. Are you acknowledging that you created and ran partial simulations of a staged cyber attack with intent to shift blame to Mr. Hale? Dana's eyes darted around the screen. She looked like she wanted to disappear. I was stressed. I didn't think I'd go through with it. They didn't buy it. None of them did. By the end of the meeting, it was clear Dana had two choices: face felony charges for conspiracy and corporate sabotage, or take a plea deal. The Department of Cybercrime offered her an agreement: probation for 5 years, a 6-figure fine, and most importantly, a lifetime ban from handling sensitive tech infrastructure in any leadership or administrative capacity. No more startups. No more CTO dreams. No more future of cybersecurity panels. Dana was done. She didn't cry, didn't apologize. She just looked straight ahead, said, "I'll take the deal," and disconnected. Just like that. Afterward, the board sent out a company-wide message. Dana Rell had formally stepped down from her position and would no longer be affiliated with the organization. The news leaked within hours. Tech blogs picked it up. Once respected founder faces ethics scandal. Reddit threads exploded. Twitter had a field day. Some people defended her. Most didn't. But no one saw her the same way again. I thought I'd feel something when it all came out. Relief. Satisfaction. Vindication. But mostly, I just felt empty. Like I'd survived a fire that burned through every part of my life, and I was standing in the ashes. Dana didn't just betray me. She betrayed the thing we built. And now, even with the truth out, the damage was done. The loft was quiet now. No more late-night code sessions. No more Dana's playlist humming from her corner desk. No more arguing about UX flow over Thai takeout. The plants on her windowsill had wilted and died. I didn't bother replacing them. That was 3 months ago. I relocated to Portland shortly after everything was finalized: board clearance, legal statements, press quieted down. The startup was still standing, technically. The board installed a stabilization CEO to keep operations afloat, but I stepped away entirely. Cashed out most of my shares, handed off my responsibilities, and walked. I needed out. Out of the building. Out of the brand. Out of the identity I'd poured 4 years of my life into. I rented a small apartment above a coffee shop in Southeast. It was nothing like the sleek Bay Area loft. It had a chip tile floor, drafty windows, and a weird smell coming from the vent I couldn't quite place. But it was mine. And more than that, it was quiet. I started freelancing. Small cybersecurity gigs. Consulting for companies too small to have their own team. No investors. No press. Just problems to solve and code to write. I kept it simple. Some nights, I sat with a cup of tea by the window and just breathed. No phones buzzing. No lawyers calling. No, "Lucas, we need you in this meeting" pings every 5 minutes. And no Dana. I thought I'd feel lighter. I didn't. Because truth is, I still replayed it. Not the climax. Not the public fallout or the board meetings or the screenshots that sealed her fate. No, what haunted me were the in-betweens. The inside jokes. The midnight, "What if we tried this?" brainstorms. The pitch decks we pulled together in a panic that somehow worked. The time she bought me a dumb mug that said "Hacker Man" after I debugged a crash in 10 minutes. I really thought she was my friend. I used to think betrayal felt like an explosion. One big moment of impact. But it's not like that. It's slow. Silent. It builds in corners you don't look at until it's too late. I started therapy again. I told my new counselor I don't trust people the same way anymore. That I screen every interaction for an angle. That I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, even when there's no shoe in sight. She told me that's normal. That it'll pass. I want to believe her. A few investors who stuck by me reached out recently. Said they'd back whatever I build next. Offered real money. A blank check to rebuild. I told them no. At least not yet. Maybe not ever. Because the thing no one tells you about surviving a betrayal like that is this: success doesn't fix it. Vindication doesn't erase it. Even the truth, when it finally shows its face, doesn't make the sting go away. It just quiets it. I check in with Jared every week. He sends me memes I don't understand and asks if I've gone full recluse. I haven't. Not totally. And every Sunday, I walk to the bookstore down the street, pick up something weird and old, and try to remind myself I'm still a person outside of all this. I don't know what comes next. Maybe I'll build again. Maybe I won't. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not rushing to prove myself. I'm not chasing validation. I'm not handing my future to someone just because they smile the right way in a pitch meeting. I'm breathing. I'm here. I survived. And that's enough.